What's going on YouTube? Kyle Ken coming at you with a video about, I guess, card effect timing. I was asked to do this video so I could explain a little better about cards that miss timing and how they miss timing and things to that effect. So, basically, a card will generally have in its card text, let me pull up one real quick. For this example, I'll use the Grand Spellbook Tower, since that card will probably still see play. It's all play less format, so many of you should know what it does, but if not, I'll read it anyway. Once per turn during your standby phase. Alright, you know what, I'm not going to read all of that effect, because it has way too many words. No one wants to hear me read that. Alright, so generally, cards that can miss timing, their card effects, their card text will say, when this card is blank, by, a card effect by your opponent or whatever, and say, and sent to the graveyard, you can do whatever the rest of the effect reads. Generally, what that means is the last thing to happen has to be that card going to graveyard. If the last thing to happen is not that card going to graveyard, that card will miss the timing. Let me give an example with the Grand Spellbook Tower. During your standby phase, you activate Grand Spellbook Tower's effect, and in response to that, your opponent chains MST. So, in that chain link 1 is the Grand Spellbook Tower, chain link 2 is the MST. So, resolving the chain, MST resolves, destroying the Grand Spellbook Tower. Now, the Grand Spellbook Tower tries to activate, but it cannot because the previous effect of Grand Spellbook Tower is still resolving. So, in that scenario, Grand Spellbook Tower will miss the timing. There's also other ways to make cards miss timing, such as two of them would be Elemental Hero Shining, Light Pulsar Dragon. I picked these two because these were kind of big during Chaos Dragon's format, even slightly before then, but I mean, heroes weren't that big during Chaos Dragon format, but since Light Pulsar and Elemental Hero the Shining are essentially have the same sort of effect, like I said before about missing the timing, you just deal with them the same way. And as I said before, the Shining reads, when this card is sent from field to graveyard, you can target up to 2 of your vanished elemental heroes and add those targets to your hand. As I said before, keep in mind, when this card is this, you can do this. So, Light Pulsar says, when this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target one level 5 or higher Dark Dragon monster in your graveyard to special summon that target. Now, these are a little different, because generally, when you're dealing with monsters, you'll have like a one, card answer, like Mirror Force, Torrential, or something to that effect. So, to make cards like Light Pulsar Dragon, Elemental Hero the Shining miss timing, you, again, with the Grand Spellbook Tower, you have to form a chain. There is other ways to make them miss timing, but I'll go into that momentarily. As I said, with forming a chain, you can do that by, when the card is summoned, you can activate, let's say you have 2 back row, because, this is generally the most common way to get rid of them. When they summon it, you go not Torrential Tribute, you go Mystical Space Typhoon or Book of Moon. Your opponent has no response, so then you activate your Torrential at that moment in response to the Light Pulsar's summon. And in that, there's only 2 chain links. There's the MST and the Torrential Tribute. So Torrential Tribute begins to resolve, destroy all the monsters on field. Elemental Hero the Shining or Light Pulsar Dragon will try to activate, but because the chain is still resolving, the MST hasn't resolved yet while they're being destroyed, so they cannot activate. The MST or Book of Moon resolves, and then you get nothing from your Light Pulsar Dragon or your Elemental Hero the Shining. For the next example of how to make them miss timing, I'm actually not going to use Elemental Hero the Shining for this one. I'll use Naturia Cliff, and I'll still keep Light Pulsar. I'll just use Naturia Cliff and Dupe Frog. The reason I'm kind of switching up for this one is because the example I'm going to use is slightly different. So, again, Dupe Frog and Naturia Cliff read, when this card is this, you can do this. So, what happens with these cards is, another thing making them miss timing is, well, it's not something you can do. This is more or less up to your opponent. I guess you could do it too with like Econ or something, but if you Synchro, Tribute, Synchro, Tribute, I think those are the only other 2 examples I was thinking of. if you'll synchro with Light Pulsar and a Chariot Cliff or Dupe Frog, they will miss the timing. The reason for that is they activate when they leave the field. Well, wait, does Light Pulsar have to be destroyed? No, let's just go to send. Okay, so let's say you're synchro with them, right? So they go to graveyard, and the synchro monster hits the board. Now, with this scenario, once again, the last thing to happen is not them hitting the graveyard. The last thing to happen is a synchro monster hitting the field. That's literally the last thing to happen in that scenario. So the cards would go to graveyard, try to activate, but since the monster has not hit the field yet, they don't activate. Similar thing with tributing for if you tribute like Pulsar for like Caius or something, or like Chariot Cliff or Dupe Frog with Caius. It doesn't matter that Caius has effect to activate. It just matters that the last thing that happened was the monster hitting the field, not those cards hitting the graveyard. I think that's essentially it. There are other ways to make them miss timing, such as what's that card? That card that was really big in Chaos Dragon format. I forgot the name of the card, but hold on. Soul Taker. There we go. It destroys a monster on the field, then your opponent gains 1,000 life points. Again, not the last thing to happen is that card go to graveyard. The last thing to happen is your opponent gaining 1,000 life points. So, if you destroy like Pulsar Dragon with Poopy Face Tomato Nose card I just forgot the name of, even though I just said it, it will still miss the timing because the last thing to happen is your opponent gaining the life points. And I think that's pretty much it for things like that. I believe there's other cards that make it miss timing, but I can't really think of any at the moment. I'm just kind of doing this in at like 2 in the morning, like I usually do these videos, not really with much of a plan to explain thorough details about how to make cards miss timing. If you guys want, I can make videos about that. Like I said, I would just ask to make a video about cards missing timing and things like that. So I actually might make this a new segment, things to talk about or something like that. I don't know what I'll call this yet. You'll see in the video title when that happens. Anyway, I guess that'll be it for this video. As usual, you guys know the deal. Like, comment, subscribe, and the rest of the good jazz. This is Kyle Ken, and I'll catch you next time. Later.